Hello, and welcome to the next episode of the AI Revolution podcast. We're here with Ben Nash, who we're very excited to have on the show. He is according to his Twitter bio, designer, developer, entrepreneur, artist, and AI evangelist, which really just sounds like our kind of guy to have on the show. And we're very excited to talk all things that you're working on, Ben. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself? What brought you to the AI world, your background, just quick bio?
Yeah, great. Thanks for having me. Good to be here. Nice to meet you guys, Jacob, Spencer. Yeah, my whole career has been a creative person, a designer. Got my degree back in the late 90s as industrial design and did that for a few years. I also studied computer science in college and kind of had an overlapping specialty at my design school at NC State, and that was I did a lot of animation work, both 2D and 3D. Back in the day, it was a lot of After Effects and 3D with Maya and other tools like 3ds Studio Max, I think it was at the time. So I've always had a little bit of an animation passion to me and did a lot of that back in the 90s. But really, around 2000, I transitioned away from just a front-end web developer to back then, I don't even think the term was out yet, but a full stack developer. And I went, learned a bunch of PHP and did a lot of server stuff. So that was most of my career for the past 24, 5, 6, 7 years, however much long that is. I'm 48 years old, so classic X-Gen guy here. So, when AI came out 2.5 years ago, at least the creative tools like Midjourney and other image generators, I embraced it full time right away. I just went for it. It was, it brought me back to my roots in the 90s of being able to create stuff that's cool. And so I jumped right into animation pretty much within a few months of doing the images. Back then, it was just slideshow style animation. So that was over 2 years ago, and I haven't stopped and haven't looked back. I'm just full steam. I usually create at least one video a day. I think my YouTube has over 520 videos now, and that's just in a year and a half of using YouTube like that. So it's been insane. It's been a fun ride.
That's incredible.
So yeah, that's what I do. I just create, can't stop. I'm a web developer by day and AI artist by day too. I'm back and forth filling every second with creating stuff. And I've also now jumped into not just images and video, but also now making music. Not just with AI, but also on my own. So yeah, that's who I am today.
You're a regular Michelangelo. You can do it all. That's great.
What's jack of all trades, but
jack of all trades.
Good at one. I don't know. I
good at all of them.
I enjoy it all. Try to be, but it's one of my drives is I just want to learn. It's I do it first for myself. All this art's for myself. Especially this has become very clear to me. Doing images, I really dove straight into sci-fi and fantasy and stuff like that because I love that genre. But and then same with videos as well. But really, when the whole AI music gen thing came out in the past 6 months, that's when I really for sure was confident in my answer that I do it for myself because I listen to my own AI generative music all the time because that's the type of music I want to listen to. So, I'm creating mashup of bands from the 90s and early 2000s that we just don't have anymore. And, even new styles of music, which is crazy to even say out loud that, just like merging different image styles or videos where I can now merge different styles of music to stuff that, I want to listen to. So I'm pretty confident in that answer that I make the content for myself first. And I'm happy to get a lot of likes on X and YouTube, but the stuff that I'm really proud of never gets liked and the throwaway comments get a lot of likes. So it's, I gave up on that game, but it's fun. So I do it for myself, and it's just that keeps me happy. It's really cool. I guess I'm pretty proud to show my dad still. My kid dad, did you see that latest video I posted to Instagram? So I there's those type of people I do try to make happy, but really it's myself.
That's awesome. Um, I like to call that the poster's curse, which is that like everything that we spend, the most effort on in developing or writing or what have you, and then put up like it's doomed to be ignored. And then, like you said, like your throwaway comments, like those are going to go viral. But
Yep,
also,
it's
I
guaranteed.
sorry. Yeah, and I also really like what you said about like the development of new styles and new aesthetics, because like I think that that's something that's going to be really fascinating to watch with AI. Like over the next 5 years, what type of aesthetics do first like I'm just interested in it all, right? Like I'm really interested in seeing the artists who stick to a purely human, a traditional art process, if you will. I'm really interested to see how they respond to AI and like what types of styles they develop. I'm super interested to see what new fashions and styles like AI powered artists develop. Like it's just going to be I think it's going to stimulate kind of an explosion of creativity across the board. Um,
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. I think I've been saying this for a year or so now too, or even longer. I think one of the first fun aspects of Midjourney. Well, again, my first job, my first career for a few years was industrial designer, so designing real
mhm.
products, and that whole process, the design process there is generally what's the classic design thinking process, where you collect about a bunch of what else is out there, some inspiration, you start sketching up ideas, you force yourself to go in different directions, just to see what you can generate. You throw it in front of the gigs or your client, and see which ones they resonate with, and they usually like these two, and you merge those, and you go through that design process. Well, that's the case with any design really. But the early days of Midjourney, I discovered, wow, this is an amazing tool for product design and architecture.
Mhm.
And architecture out of Midjourney is just incredible. And I like to tell this story. There was always that one kid in design school that could draw really well, and if he showed up freshman year of college and did this amazing rendering of a building or a product or a car, he's set for the next 4 years. All the teachers love him. He can do no wrong. He's quality, gets all A's and all that. And nowadays anybody can take their idea and massage it and make it look beautiful with AI tools in a fairly short amount of time, especially compared to what it used to. So with that said, I expect an explosion of incredible new architecture to start appearing in real life. I think we're going to
Hmm.
see buildings that were never thought of before or never put on paper, or people were scared to go in that direction, and now
Yeah.
they have the confidence because it takes just a few seconds. So I really hope, in our lifetime, we'll start seeing just insane, crazy, wicked architecture. The wicked was for
Totally.
the Boston in the group here, so
Thank you. Yeah, throw it out there.
you're welcome.
I You just brought up a very interesting point that I don't think I've thought about enough is it's like right now AI is it's so focused on the creation of art, the creation of, in the cloud. It's creating in the cloud, but it's going to be very interesting to see as AI ideas catch on, how that translates into real world physical changes in buildings, in art, in everything. I don't think I've thought about that
Yeah,
enough.
I
That
mean,
we're like in this
it
early
really is.
stage and it's going to hit.
Yeah, it's not just digital art. Again, I think music is a good one that's really changed my perspective on this too, or supports this idea. Yesterday, my phone was dead, and I had 45 minutes driving in the car, and it wasn't charging fast enough. So I got impatient and turned on the radio. And it was the first time I turned on the radio in years in the car, and not listening to some streaming service or files on my phone. And everything was crap, absolute crap on the radio. I couldn't handle it. I didn't even know the stations in the town I've been living in for 2 years. And so I was bored instantly, and pretty much disgusted. Like, this is some crap music. And, you know, it's, I'd rather get, and I even tweeted today, I can't wait for Udio to come out with a mobile app. One, to create on, of course. I want to create some music on the go while waiting in line at the bank. But honestly, I love streaming music from on my desktop from my Udio account. And I think that's also going to be how we listen
Wow.
to music. And so there we go. That's another use case where this isn't just a tool for generating this now, becoming into the real world is what we actually listen to. And so that's, Suno and Udio, release an app to listen. I mean, we'll do it. It'll take off. It'll be popular.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But yeah, music, product design, and architecture, graphic design, any aspect of life, we're starting to see how AI is helping everybody. I, I do keep up with some colleagues of mine at the design firm in North Carolina I used to work at, and been talking to them the past 2 years about, have you embraced Midjourney yet? Are you using AI tools in your office? And I give my buddy a call every 3 or 4 months and ask him the same thing. And the good news is, yep, they're using it more and more and more,
Oh,
all
wow.
in the classic ways that you would think. They're using it to generate ideas and explore, colors and textures and things like that. So it's definitely affecting the design process across the board. But yeah, it's starting to turn into, real products and things like that.
Wow.
But yeah, AI architecture in real life, that would be
That'll
amazing.
be fascinating. I'm curious, Ben,
Hmm.
can you, even just at like a high level, kind of walk us through? You said you create a video every single day, which that alone shows the power of AI that you're able to do that. But could you walk us through high level the process you go through to do that, from like coming up with an idea to actually building that, creating that video?
Yeah, sure. I'll have to back up and tell a little bit of pre-stories to this, or foundation. Ooh, again, about 2 years ago, I gave myself my first video I created, where I actually put a lot of effort into it. It was long, even for today's standards. It was 7 minutes long, which 2 years ago, creating a 7-minute video sounds crazy. And it was just a slideshow. It wasn't moving, walking people. It was just a slideshow with music. And I was impressed. I impressed myself. I did it over Thanksgiving break. And at my mom's house, I brought my iMac and stayed with her for a few days and just sat in her dining room and cranked away this video. And it was really cool. I enjoyed it. And I said, wow, if I can do that in a few days, right, and it's 7 minutes, I have to practice. So I gave myself a 30-day challenge back then, which I'll come back to in a second. But my requirement was just to do a 30-second to 1 minute video every day for 30 days, just to see what
Wow.
would happen. And it was in my mind, impossible task to do that with AI tools. And I'm not talking about using After Effects, which again, I was an expert in After Effects back in the 90s. These days, not so much. But so I knew it was going to be hard, but I started and I haven't stopped since. It became easier and easier and easier. One of my People don't like to hear this, especially creatives, but one of my goals still to this day is speed. I do want to see how fast I can crank stuff out, not necessarily focusing on quality. Most of my adult life have been a freelancer. Most is web design, and I had to be fast, cheap, and easy. I had to be practical. I had to make money. I had to not waste my time. I didn't have unlimited resources to spend 6 months on one beautiful image or website or whatever. So speed was always a practical aspect of my career. I thought, well, let's just carry on that philosophy into art. So of course, quality is better than quantity, but there's also that phrase, practice makes perfect. So how do you get good? You practice. And how do you practice? You just do a ton. So that's still my philosophy. None of my work is meant to be like my grand masterpiece. It's just, what am I learning today? What am I working on today? Crank it out. I compromise all the time. I don't have all the best tools. I don't have the fastest computer. So I have to just move forward. So the process is generally, I do plan a lot of projects, but a lot of time it is serendipitous. If I'm generating a bunch of images in a image tool and I get new ideas right there on the spot, might be working on one thing and I get distracted and start working on another thing. The ideas are constantly flowing. And I do have to like not only compromise myself, but tell myself, no, you don't have time to do this. Stop these 10 side videos and focus on one for a change. So I mean, that's a big part of it is that. But these days I use, instead of slideshow animations, I'm now using the AI video tools like Runway and Pika and Final Frame and Kriya. Well, Kriya's video tool is about to come out. Talk about that another time. But yeah, I can't wait for Sora to come out. I think that's going to be a game changer for sure. So it's well, it's a lot of clips. AI video tools only generate usually about 4 seconds or so. Runway lets you extend those longer, but those get a little distorted. I don't necessarily aim for realistic Hollywood quality style movies. I don't even aim for perfect storytelling. A lot of my colleagues are into the art of the storytelling, which I completely agree with. But I kind of, again, with the speed and the limited quality of some of these tools, I realized early on that music videos are probably a good genre to exploit and try to learn as much as I can there, because you can be a lot more abstract and artistic with music videos. Though a music video with a story, it always works well too. So I'm trying to get into more storytelling, but yeah, but again, with AI video and even images not being 100% realistic, it's we have to realize, okay, these are sometimes cartoon animations, so it's a lot of editing after I
Yeah.
generate clips. Usually, like a 3-minute music video will have about 120 clips in it, and I do a lot of tricks too. There's a lot of new styles that have emerged from using these tools. So every day I learn something new, built on the things I've been doing up until that point. It's a lot of clicking and button pushing. People say AI is just pushing a button. Well, I say a 3-minute video takes about 10,000 buttons pushed in the correct order. So that's a difficult task, to be honest.
Yeah. To know the order.
My shoulders hurt. Yeah. So
Yeah.
it's a fun life though. I enjoy it.
And that's exactly why we wanted to bring an AI artist on, because so it's like I haven't spent a ton of time making AI art, but I think that people really underestimate how much of a workflow there is to AI art, partially because they may honestly overestimate the current capabilities of these tools, because artists like yourself take so long, first selecting clips and generating clips and sifting through. I assume that you sift through a bunch of different generations to find the ones that you want, and then you have to edit them afterwards to make sure that it flows how you want.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a huge misconception there from the public. Again, as most of my life has been a freelancer, I definitely immediately tried to make money off of AI tools and create all of the above, whether it's videos for companies for their marketing social media campaigns, or in my case, I did a lot of music videos for bands in the past year. And I actually gave up on that. I rarely take on a new client, and I still get at least one request a day for
Oh,
a
wow.
music video or social media video. But most of the reason is it's just not worth it. Most of these people don't have a budget more than nothing or $300. And I did have several projects that were in the thousands of dollars, and those were very, very difficult clients. They also thought that it was just a few buttons, and one particular client, for example, I made a video with an app called Neural Frames, and essentially, still at this point, if you want to, without doing much post processing, editing the video in Premiere or something, it's essentially a change early in the timeline is almost like starting over. So, I gave this one particular client an estimate of about 20 hours. And I said, but if you make an edit, it's going to double to 40 hours. So keep that in mind. And clients don't like pricing like that. So Most of the jobs I do take on for musicians today, I do for free, and I'm very strict on my what I offer. I say I'll do it once and that's it, and take
Yeah.
it or leave it. And if you have changes, then it's going to be expensive. So it's just because it is a lot of work. I
Oh,
make a
yeah.
lot more money in web design and development than I do in AI creative stuff right now. And I also my girlfriend told me something really that opened my eyes recently. Me and another AI artist friend, we were doing a lot of client work together and trying to build that business, and it wasn't going places smoothly. And so we talked a lot about, okay, what do we really want to do here? And we stopped doing that and offering it as a service. And it was because my girlfriend had a good point. She said, well, isn't the point of AI to make people more productive? Meaning, it's pretty much a race to the bottom. Eventually it will be, I mean, every day it gets easier and easier and easier to do higher quality, better stuff, more creative, and put that in the hands of everybody. So if I'm going to be a creative that makes money in this field, I don't want to do it as a service. I'd rather teach people.
Hmm.
So that's what I'm looking to do next, is to pivot into making courses. Of course, a lot of people do
Interesting.
that online as well. But again, that's if I have time. I'm making videos and music for myself and learning first. I'm paying the bills with web design, so it's I'd love to make a course and show people. I started out doing several tutorials on YouTube, but I kind of stopped that because they do take a lot of time. So that's the struggle I'm
Yeah.
dealing with right now. Is do I create art or do I sell a course or what? But it's also moving so fast. I kind of just need to relax and
Yeah.
watch
It
the
moves
scene
fast.
unfold.
That's the
Yeah.
wild thing about AI is like it's just constantly evolving. I think you should go the route of being a teacher. You could be like the AI Bob Ross.
Perfect. Yes.
I love that. I'm going to put that on my website one day.
Go for it.
I'm
Yes.
also,
Yours.
yeah. Hey, thanks, Spencer. I'm also working on two or more web app. That's what I was working on before this call.
Oh, okay.
Simple ones, nothing spectacular. Um, I'll tell you about one of them. And it's, again, most of these, uh, most of the AI related freelance client work I've gotten in the past year or so is music videos, and I do enjoy making them. But then once the the new generation of AI music generation tools like Suno version 3 and the new Udio music, now that those are out and I'm making more music myself and creating things that I want to listen to, I now want to make my own music videos. And if I sit down for half a day to a day, I'll have an entire new album's worth of music, not only generated but also mastered, beginner mastered. I'm not a musician, a professional musician, but um, so there you go. In half a day to a day, I can have a good quality amount of music. I've already published two to Apple Music and Spotify and all the other platforms with DistroKid. And it takes then about a week to follow up and make videos for those. And that's making, 1 to 2 a day. And so that takes a ton of time. Music videos can, take, I used to say it takes about an hour per minute, and it's not really gotten much faster. It's just I can do more quality work in that hour.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, if it was a 40-minute video, it'd take me 40 hours to make videos. I mean, 40-minute album, I'd have to spend an entire week making videos for that. So I'm looking for faster ways to make music videos. So I'm building a tool to somewhat do that. It's a lightweight version. It's not on par with neural frames or runway or anything like that. But it is slightly better than those um, single animated image with a waveform, changing it throughout the song. So it's somewhere in between there. I'm trying to add more
Okay.
features. There's some out there that are close, but yeah, I'm working on that. That's my
Nice.
passion project right now.
Does it have a
I'd love
name?
to offer a yeah, Ma effects or Ma effects,
My
as
effects.
in yeah, MA FX. So
My
yeah, look
effects.
out for
Okay.
Ma effects in the
All
next
right.
6 months or earlier.
We'll keep our eyes peeled.
You're
That sounds
the
that
first
sounds
time
sweet.
I've mentioned it out loud, so
Oh
thanks for
man.
asking.
We'll take
Yeah,
note.
Ma effects.
That's great. I'm curious, Ben, have you
Thanks.
I feel like I've seen it, but have you gotten much negative from like other maybe traditional artists on like your YouTube, on your Instagram, on things like that? Is there much of a clash there, or are they more supportive than you would think? What's that relationship been
Um,
like?
it's a great question. The AI art, as in images, that is still the most vicious of the haters, the AI haters.
Hmm.
Um, Still to this day, it has been for a good few years. You're not an artist. You're not an artist. And before I got into AI, for the past 20 years, again, mostly a web designer and developer, but I also I've always been a woodworker, metal guy, fabricator, build furniture, lighting, signage. I lived in Austin, Texas for 7 years, started a very creative signage company. I got known for making really creative high end sidewalk signs. I had a laser cut, a $33,000 laser cutter in my garage. I used it 4 or 5 hours a day. I'm an artist. Though back then I just called myself a designer. I had long hair down my waist, and I didn't actually like the term artist because I rather would be called a designer. But after I cut, because people treated you differently when you have long hair. Spencer. I mean, how long have you had your what's that?
About 5 years now.
Okay, if you cut it, people will treat you differently, and then if I grow mine back out, people will treat me differently. It's
Yeah.
funny, but I do miss mine, to be honest. So good on you. Um, but yeah, I've always been a creator, a designer, an artist, in any form or that I could work with.
Yeah.
So when people say I'm not an artist because I'm using AI tools, it's I can get sucked into the debate and get pretty mad and angry and fight back, but I mostly avoid it these days. And then fast forward to video and music. Um, the musicians out there don't seem to be as vicious or
Hmm.
as hating on their music. And I have a couple theories. One is maybe people have gotten used to AI tools and being a creative tool in the past few years. And two, I think the musicians have been through this before. As simple as people using samples or electronic music or using computers to create music has been around for probably 40 years. DJ, is a DJ a musician? That debate's 30, 40 years old as well. It's just been discussed over and over and over. Um, I think the even the acceptance of digital art, as images is somewhat, I mean, it's also been around forever, but not mainstream at all. But, anytime you turn on the radio, like I did yesterday, every hip hop song out there is auto tuned. I mean, that's AI. So we've gotten used to AI tools in the process. Um, so I think, yeah, the musicians are more supportive of it.
Yeah.
Um, I like to tell this story. Um, my girlfriend's a professor at a nearby university. She's a director of a program where they teach orchestra to both the college students and to younger kids, high school and even younger. And when we first started dating, she asked me about AI, and she was a little hesitant and a little unaccepting, let's say. And it took me about an hour to go from zero to her loving it. And really, the story there is what you can't see right in front of me is a giant full size, piano 88 keyboard, and I also have two guitars behind me as well, and a bunch of other miscellaneous smaller instruments, harmonicas, and stuff like that. And I grew up learning how to play piano. My mother's a piano teacher, and but never got good, never, and haven't touched a piano in 20 years or whatever. But I knew the basics, and so last year with Suno V1 V2, it would only generate about 20-second clips of music, and you could continue them and generate the next clip and so on. But even those continuations didn't match up perfect. So to make an entire song out of Suno V1 and V2 clips, it was a difficult process where I had to take these clips and bring them into initially GarageBand, and I outgrew that and bought Logic Pro, and it took a lot to create a song. And through that process, I really learned a lot more about music composition and realized that composition, whether it's music or visual or video, overlaps a lot in concepts, even going all the way back to my design school days. So I learned a lot about music in general. And back to that 30-day challenge, I said I'd come back to it. Back in September and October of 2023, I was deep into making music videos, again for myself mostly, and realized, man, I could do one a day. I really could. So I gave myself a 60-day challenge back in September and October. And that kind of made a bigger name for myself. People thought I was crazy. I talked about it on Twitter, and I was posting a new music video every day. Wow. And it's initially I was looking for other artists to make videos for, and I do had a couple friends that I still have some tracks I still want to animate for that never finished. But I quickly pivoted within the first week of this 60-day challenge into just generating my own music with AI music gen tools. Mostly Suno, but a little bit of Splash Music Pro, which doesn't exist anymore. And through that process, I actually, probably about 3-4 weeks into it, of deep in Logic Pro, 3-4 hours a night, I decided, well, I'm actually going to try to make some music myself without AI. And I put out about 10 tracks in a week of my own music. I was doing a new song every night. Again, nothing that's amazing. I'm a beginner. Still don't even really consider myself a musician. Kind of not. Nothing on par with anybody who's had a band, though I had a band in high school, but that's another story. But yeah, it really taught me a lot about music. And so fast forward to when I met my girlfriend, I told her that whole story right there. And I said, so really what AI as a tool did for me is it taught me a lot about music in general, enough to where I could either compose a song with AI clips or my own things. And it just exposed me a lot to the whole music world. And she's like, okay, I'm sold. Done. That's enough. You convinced me. It's a great thing to have in our world. And she's now the one at her school that helps people use AI. Not in music. I'm talking about like Chat GPT style. But okay. So yeah, it's but to your question, the haters mostly I think still exist in the AI image and the music industry, and musicians and friends have embraced it a lot easier, it seems like. Now they do exist though. I do get some hate, at least once a week for music, but not every day.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think the most pushback I've seen to AI and music is mostly to people using it to like copy other people's voices, and that one kind of makes sense to me. I think like the one that I'm thinking of specifically is the Drake AI Tupac track that he released. I thought that was so corny, but other than that, I was just really excited to see, what what producers can do with unlimited free samples. There's going to
Yeah,
be
Yeah, I
serious.
mean,
a crazy explosion.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. I agree with that 100%. It's fun, I guess. I did do a Tupac um song a year and a half ago. It was
Oh,
not that
nice.
good, but I mean, I loved it at the time. I'm like, okay, I'm now gonna be Tupac. But I realized too, though, that you know, other than fun, it's in practice. Again, if you're trying to make money in this and be a full-time artist where you can support yourself, why not create your own IP, your own intellectual property,
Yeah.
and your own music, and actually put it out there and make a
Mhm.
name for yourself? And it's the same amount of effort, maybe even easier, to develop your own styles. And so I tell people that all the time, and that goes for any creative field that's related to AI, whether it's art
Mhm.
or movies or uh, music. Make
Yeah.
your own, put it out there.
Yeah, it's amazing how, and you kind of touched on this with your story about you and generating music and that resulting in you learning how to do it yourself, how to build your own music. And I think that's a common theme we've seen, whether it's music, art, coding, all these different realms. It can it brings the barriers to entry. It almost eliminates the barriers to entry because it can customize the coaching to you as a person and help you progress. You can say, how do I do this? And it'll give you instructions. And you say, well, I don't understand step 2. Tell me more about that. And it'll come right down to your level and help you progress, which I think is absolutely amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. A great example of that, again, in my outside the creative world, is in the coding world. Again, I mentioned earlier I was a PHP developer for most of the 2000s, and I was pretty resistant to switching over to the whole React JavaScript based ecosystem of coding, which is a completely different way of building things. I mean, not only switching from PHP to JavaScript, but also um, well, there's lots of differences, but I was kicking and screaming and one of the last ones to learn it. I mean, I dabbled from day one, even learned Angular for a while, which is related to React, but hated it. And really what happened was Microsoft bought GitHub, and GitHub had a product called GitHub Copilot. And GitHub Copilot, they were the first one to use the word Copilot. Microsoft took that term and now applies it to even their Windows-based AI, I believe. And
Mm-hmm.
so GitHub Copilot is AI. It's basically an incredibly smart autocomplete for coding. So you start typing a few letters, and GitHub reads your entire project, your file, has a history of yourself. It knows what you're trying to do. It reads your comments. I can type out a comment, hit enter, tab, and it knows what I'm trying to write and writes 30 lines of code. And so
Yeah, that's amazing.
that, 4 years ago, when I was really struggling to learn React, I got the basics down and did all right for a while. But when I started paying for GitHub Copilot, it changed my life. It now writes, 80, 90% of my code. It doesn't do it for me. I have to steer it. But it's usually, most of the time, syntactically perfect. And it just saves a ton of time. I can move much farther, faster, quicker with GitHub Copilot. So it's an incredible tool that really. I mean, yeah, that was my first foray into AI tools that changed my life long before any AI image generator came out.
I just want to go on a slight tangent here and comment on
Please,
how
yeah.
Microsoft missed the easiest branding decision in the world. Their core AI product should have been called Cortana, like from Halo, easiest decision in the world, and somehow they missed it. But
Oh,
I
they
just had to
should
get
have,
that out
yeah.
there.
That's funny. I mean, I do like the Copilot name. At first, I was kind of mad that they hijacked it from GitHub and spread it throughout their
Hmm.
products, but
Yeah.
it's a good one.
Yeah, it does convey a lot of the benefits of AI that it does.
Yeah.
I think it
yeah,
I see what they're
exactly.
trying to do. They're trying to it's like a subliminal it's like comforting, right? It's not taking your job, it's your co-pilot
This
in
is your
all that you
friend.
do, right?
Exactly.
It's your little buddy that's there to help you. And it's
Yeah,
It's
smart
your
because
but
I mean
give
robot
it is
friend who lives in
trivial.
yeah
your computer.
Yeah,
yeah, but
exactly.
give the credit to GitHub. They're the ones that came up with it
Yeah.
first.
Shout out to
Um,
GitHub.
I yeah, I personally think that AI itself is a bad brand name. It's artificial intelligence. You know, that I think is a lot of where this resistance and hate
Hmm.
comes from. You know, one, artificial sounds bad, and intelligence, like, okay, are you better than me type of thing. And it's just a bad name. If they, you know, I liked machine learning. I'm old enough to remember when this was all called fuzzy logic. And fuzzy logic felt comfortable. It's like, ooh, that's fun. And that was trying to sift through a bunch of data and find patterns that emerge and give value to those and present, rise them to the surface and present to people. That's which is essentially what we're doing with these models today.
Hmm.
So yeah, I think AI itself is just a bad brand name. I mean, it's cool. It's easy to say. It's two letters. That's cool. But you know, the meaning behind the words itself, I
Yeah.
think immediately just builds friction.
Yeah, it's kind of
I
But
triggering.
hopefully
also
we're
think,
past
Yeah.
that stage.
yeah, I'm hoping that we are too, because I think, to your point, I think that some of the resistance publicly to AI has been the fact that, like, for a long time, AI was honestly just a marketing term. Like, it really was, right? Like, it was salesmen or marketers trying to dress up their ML algorithms as being more powerful than they are. And so now that something that personally I think can reasonably be said to be AI is here. A lot of people are downplaying it because of the previous association of, like, oh, AI is just a marketing term. Um, so yeah, but I don't know how you rebrand at this point.
I know.
No, it's
It's
too
hard.
late. It's
Cat's out of the
it's here to
bag.
stay.
Yeah.
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 But it also has that negative connotation of Terminator is going to come kill us all,
Yeah, yeah, I can
Right,
totally
exactly.
I totally see that.
or
Especially with I think maybe like older generations, it definitely can have that because that's all it was in the past. It was like a world domination equivalent almost like AI equals robots taking over, So
yeah, exactly. Even
it's
I'm
good
old
to see
enough
that
to
change.
remember the movie War Games with Matthew Broderick. You
Yeah.
guys too young for that one? Okay. I believe that was an AI computer that misunderstood the game as reality and decided to shoot some nuclear warheads or almost did. Actually, when I go back
Yeah.
and watch it now, but yeah, we've had the fear. I mean, even I'm actually recreating the trailer to the 1920s movie Metropolis right
Hmm.
now,
Mhm.
and that so even back then we had fear of robots. Even Frankenstein is almost a
Yeah.
similar type of monster of
Mhm.
it's man-made created monster. Watch out, it'll kill us all. So yeah, it's
Yeah.
I don't know. I think the reality of danger from AI. I'm definitely not a doomer. I'm anti-doomer. I think it's ridiculous.
Hmm.
It's as ridiculous today as it was 150 years ago. So
Yeah.
Um, kind of on that note, a question that we like to ask every guest is, if you were to give advice to somebody who is, not necessarily, and it sounds like you have experience with this with your girlfriend too, who's not necessarily, like, tapped into the tech sphere or the AI world, but is interested in AI and wants to, like, learn more and perhaps allay some of their own fears. What advice would you give to them?
um, wow. I mean, everybody has their own entry point that gives them that aha moment, and it's pretty unique to them. Uh, I guess my story with my girlfriend was, that was maybe one of her aha moments. But with her, she had two other aha moments that really helped. And I can't remember specifically what it was, but she had to write something. And I said, listen, give it to ChatGPT. And in her case, she uses Microsoft Copilot on an iPad of all places. But and it helped her generate a lot of to write something. I can't remember. So that was her aha moment. And then another one she had was a friend of hers had a baby and had an event, a birthday party, or a long story there. But she wanted to make her a sign, one of those children's signs, which again, she knew my history. I have a CNC router in the garage. I still, do a lot of woodworking, and even that's, how do I do things with the computer with wood? So she thought to herself, well, maybe we can build her friend a sign for her baby and hang it on the wall. And so she used Copilot, which is DALL-E 3 image generation behind the scenes, and she generated some designs for a children's sign. And she actually told it things, like, okay, make the rainbow these colors, make the rainbow bigger, make the words say this, take away the extra stuff, add this stuff. And she really, in my mind, used it as a design tool and came up with an incredible realistic image, sent it to me and said, hey, is this something we can make with your CNC router? And I was shocked. I'm like, this is one of the best looking signs I've ever seen. She said, yeah, I love it. I love it. This is amazing. I can't believe I went through this. This saves everybody so much time and money and energy, and it allows me to now design a sign. She's never designed a sign in her life. And, in the old school, I wish I had AI, these type of tools, 4 years ago when I lived in Austin, when at the peak of my sign business, because I didn't like to do the one-off children's signs. I was getting into larger restaurant signage and things like that. But I didn't like the financial side of doing these signs because they were, cheaper. But I did enjoy making them. And the hardest part of this was going back and forth with the client and sending them Illustrator, Photoshop sketches and going back and forth. And now, this is the productivity gain. If I can put that tool in the hands of a client and say, here, why don't you prompt the machine, get some designs? Because actually, here's an analogy me and my buddy Marco like to use. Using a lot of AI tools is, again, to the criticism of them, it is like pulling a slot machine handle and hoping to get something that you like. However, there is ways to steer the slot machine, give a lot of inputs to it. You're not just pulling a handle, you're doing a lot more, and you're doing things with those results, and you're feeding it back to the machine and going in many cycles. And what happens in the client world, working with clients, is they have a preconceived idea in their head, and the class, one of the biggest problems that AI won't well, actually, let me just start that over. One of the problems is for that person who has an idea in their head to convey that message to the designer and say, here's what I'm thinking. And, I always say, well, feel free to sketch it up. They don't know how to do that. So then I have to sketch it up based on their words. They're prompting me. I'm responding and spending hours building the image and giving it back to them. And like, oh no, I like those two. Can you merge those two? Classic design process. And that takes a lot of work. And to get exactly what they had in their mind, or
Right.
I changed their mind potentially with new concepts. And so, but if you're the machine operator and you're pulling that slot machine handle and feeding in your own inputs, at the speed that AI is doing this, it can give you hundreds of concepts, and the machine is feeding concepts or input. So, it's a feedback loop, giving the person who has the idea new ideas or opportunities that might even be better than their original idea. And they let go of their preconceived idea that they were so stuck on for so long. And they kind of said, well, this is great. This is good enough. This is even better than my idea. So with that said, that's why, I would rather these tools get in the hands of everybody instead of trying to be the middleman and trying to arbitrage some money out of the situation. So, and that's what happened here with that sign for our friend's daughter. Is, she fed in her ideas, got back dozens of concepts, liked 3 or 4 directions, steered them more, edited them, and gave me a final design. If I had that 4 years ago, I might even still have a sign company today. So it's I definitely would have had bigger margins myself.
Yeah, I think that's very illustrative, and even, yeah, it's a good example for anyone thinking, how can I use AI? It can be a sign for your daughter's birthday. It can be anything. Just like any task you have coming up, you can apply it to, and it will give you live feedback and live iterations, which is unheard of up until this point. Like, you can generate your own ideas real time and coach it to where you want it to go. So I think that's a very good
Yeah.
example of what's possible for people.
Yeah, exactly. And it also, as a creative person, I used to hate it back in the day when my client would be standing over my shoulder, looking at my screen, breathing down my neck. Do
Yeah.
this, do that, do this. That was, nope, not going to do that. And now that's what I embrace. I really want that. Like, I'm not going to send you a bunch of videos I rendered in Runway and then you pick and choose and come back. We're already wasting time. Let's just sit down, do Google Meet, or come over to my house, sit down on my computer. Let's start typing. Let's see what we get. Give me your immediate feedback. Okay, great. Now let's make some changes. Immediate feedback, great. And we can be done with the project in 1 session instead of 10. So it speeds up the design process with a lot of these projects that didn't really have a good budget or margin to work with. Now it's much easier.
Awesome.
I mean, I'm definitely a businessman too, so I look at all these things. I love the speed of all these things. It's really where I see the benefit.
It's life-changing for sure.
Yeah, it really is.
Well, Ben, we are so grateful for you coming on the show and sharing a little bit about your creative process and tools you use and why you do it, which I think was powerful. It's good to hear that you do it for yourself. You like what you're doing. It's not for profit.
Yeah, it's an absolute blast. This is the best creative time of my life I've ever had. I've felt trapped in a unknown world for decades, and now I can just explode every day. I love it. So it's I feel like, again, with my past of both being a designer and programmer, I finally feel like this kind of embraces all that. But not only that, but I'm also, most of my jobs have always been for a marketing department or an agency. So I've always been in the content creation world too. And this is like the perfect overlap. It embraces all aspects of my career so far, pulls it into one.
I love it.
So I'm just, I love being a creator. It's just my dream come true, to be honest.
That's amazing. And if people want to follow you, follow your journey, what are the best platforms, handles? Where should they follow you?
Yeah, my name is Ben Nash, Ben Nash, Nash, and that's my user handle on almost all social media. So on X, it's at Ben Nash. On YouTube, it's at Ben Nash. Instagram at Ben Nash. Facebook at Ben Nash. Discord, same thing. But yeah, I'm most prolific on X. I post about 40 tweets a day. Not all content, but there's lots of content there. I post about 1 video a day to YouTube and maybe 3 or 4 videos to Instagram a week. And then Facebook, I'm only doing here and there for, family. Actually, Instagram's only for family too. So really, X and YouTube are my preferred platforms. Also, bennash.com, though. Thank you. bennash.com, though that's still kind of my old portfolio, even before AI. Has a lot of my signage and woodworking, metalworking, and such there.
Cool.
I am building a new website focused on AI and music videos there. And then Ben Nash at Gmail, if you want to reach out and email me. Same handle.
Perfect.
Yeah, thank
you so much for coming on.
Yeah,
We
thank you
will.
so much. Thanks for the great questions, and let me just spit my knowledge and opinions and passions. It's been fun.
We've
You're
loved it.
welcome.